Good morning. We're back in the studio, and today, as promised, I'm going to go over a few color palettes. I'm going to use markers and then a little bit of watercolor. So, hopefully no sales pitches today. I never bog down to one specific brush. I use whatever I have on hand, a round, an angular flat, a flat, a smaller round, and then a script brush. I don't know where I'd be without my script brush, as I draw the finest of lines with the script brush. It's a must-have for me. Okay, and then a regular sketchbook. I did a little bit of a test here this morning, and then some hot press smooth watercolor paper that I'll be doing the demo on a little bit later. And here we have some alcohol markers. I chose these colors just because I was busy with them this morning, but when you start out a color palette and maybe have a theme in mind, you can jot down all the colors that you think might fit in with that. I jotted down some pinks and like a muted red, a green, an ochre, more green. I think that would be closer to like a limey sap green color. And this is a flesh tone. Two variants of oranges, because sometimes just that slight difference in tone can make quite a difference in the end result. And then some darks and a neutral. And then when I decided which ones I liked, picking them out, I normally just have a little swatch at the bottom from darkest to light. The reason for that is if I need to add a little bit of lightness into a picture, I can use my lighter colors, and they are in order, so you can literally just go there and get that color and work with it. Now, working with markers and color pencils is one thing. Moving back to paint is quite another. So that was the one I ended up using, and I'll sometimes tear that off and then just have that on my table while I'm working with a project, for instance. That way I know I can stay focused and online with what I'm doing. And then a second thing I do, let me just put that there so you can have a look at that while I demo, is I'll play around with whatever I had in mind. So for this particular one, I thought of doing some wavy stems and some leaves in the dark, because I'm busy working on a graphic project, so it's better to work with the solid colors then instead of going with watercolor, because scanning in a watercolor and working with that digitally is a lot more work. And if I need something done a little quicker, I go for the solid colors like the markers. Okay, so I wanted a random leaf thing. I haven't decided completely, so therefore there's no name to give this, but I'm playing around with my colors, setting them to paper, getting ideas out. You can see this is just a little scrappy piece of paper. I just want to see how the colors are going to play, so I'm not even near getting to a result. All I'm doing is playing. And oh, hi Dominique. All I'm doing is playing and seeing how the colors interact. Oh, let's make a little heart somewhere and change the direction. It doesn't even have to look like the thing you are working towards. Like I said, this is for playing and to see how the colors interact. This way, when you get to your actual piece, you've worked out the kinks and you've discovered ways that it might not work, and it feels to me at least that I'm better prepared when I go to the canvas or to my workspace, and my mind is warmed up and I've figured out a few things. And the same will happen to you when you start working on improving your art. And the best way I've found to improve your art is to actually be doing art. So I haven't even used the green yet, and already I like that. You don't have to use everything on your final chosen palette. Maybe let's put some of the green in, and because I'm recording, I can always take screenshots later and as I went through the stages, so that I can refer back to things I liked before. And us artists have a terrible thing where we will fiddle and niggle at something until it's not right anymore. So when you have short little recordings or photos taken throughout the session, you can see where you should have stopped, and that way it brings a little bit more practice to your work, and when you get to it, you already know what to avoid, right? So this is just a little playful putting together of the colors. Now, you don't have to stop there. You can do exactly the same thing by changing the colors around. That's the beauty of working in different color palettes, is you get to choose. So let's do more or less the same thing. And remember, we're discovering new things here. We're discovering what we like, if it's going to work in the design. And when you're working with clients like variety. Sometimes they lack the vision and don't know how something will look once it's done. So when you have an example for them like this, they can easily say, oh wow, that's exactly what I wanted. Or sometimes they'll look at the design and think, they may not say something, but they'll definitely be thinking, oh, that's not what I had in mind. But they're too shy to tell you. So if you have options, the pressure is off the client and they can choose, and then they also have the freedom to say, well, this one I don't like and that one I like more. So let's do the hearts in this. Like I said, we're playing, discovering things about the colors, about the design. We're nowhere near perfection yet. Sometimes you'll see in my designs, especially the graphic ones, that I have two versions, because sometimes I can't choose which one looks better and which one I like more, and it's already designed. You can choose both. There's no reason you don't have to throw away one. And look there, I like the squiggles over there, but I wanted to try a bigger polka dot. But I didn't want the polka dot to stand out too much, So I'm using the lightest color I have on that Discovery palette and just adding the little polka dots. There we go. So let's put this aside and then go to the sketchbook and the watercolors, and we can work and play there a little bit so we have an idea of how to mix colors if we don't have like pre-ready colors like with markers. I'm just going to put them aside for now. Now, a mistake I see a lot of young, new, fresh artists make, and even seasoned artists, is working straight from tube color. I suppose there's nothing wrong with having the brightest red out and literally grabbing it and working straight onto your paper. That is okay, but developing that color to be a little more grown up will be far more important than, playing with that color as is. Now, a lot of artists are afraid of making mud, and I get that. So take a little bit of that color. We'll work with the red for now. And on a standard color wheel, I doubt whether I have one with me. I'll have a look quickly. Okay, it's not where it's supposed to be, so I think I lost it somewhere. But the opposite of red is green. You'll see in many of the master painters, they have these two colors together in a color palette or on a painting. And the reason for that is it works well together. So just that smidge of green has already moved that color into something that is a little more grown up, like I said. And you don't even have to mute it down that much, but that's the possibility. And the reverse is also true. If you're working with paint straight from the tube, even though Hooker's green is a fantastic green to work with, I find that sometimes I want variation in the Hooker's green, and for that to happen, just add a little bit of the red and play with that, mix it well, and then have a look. So it's muted. It doesn't look like everybody else's Hooker's green, and that's the thing I want to get across today. It's the reason why we are working with altered colors. Is because we don't want our paintings to look like everybody else's paintings. You need that color play to make it interesting and to have variance. So let's see if we take that green again. Oh, sorry, I kept on saying Hooker's green, and then actually that was the sap green. So taking the sap green and going in with the scarlet, which would be equivalent to cadmium red. Just mixing it, I'd guess this time about half and half. You get your neutral or the muddy colors, as some artists would suggest. But that color is magic when you are looking to paint some shadowy colors on foliage. Let me show you the difference between having that mixed with the red to get that neutral and using it with a little bit of black just to mute it down, of course. But there's a vast difference between using the black to mute it down and using the opposite color to mute it down. So that one will give you a warmer color and this side will be cooler. Both are equally how can I say, there's value in both of them within your paintings, but the black can look a little bit dead. So discovering your color palettes will help you to improve your paintings and improve your artwork. So let's go to another color quickly. Oh, that was great. I guess we're working with orange next. Now, something you might have seen in my work quite regularly is these muted peach and apricot and pink tones. So I'll show you how I get to them. Alright, so I'll start off with 3 little puddles. With watercolor, it's important to rinse your brush in one container and have a separate container for clean water, simply because if you want something to be more pure, you can't use dirty, muddied water to get there. Okay, so scarlet in the one, and then vermilion, which is an orange. And I want to use Venetian red just to show you. A lot of people will use that as a brown. It's the same with your acrylic paint. The brown madder actually makes some pretty awesome reds or variances of reds. Okay, so just for the sake of the demonstration, I'm going to add some white to each of them. Well, I suppose we'll need equal amounts of white. Okay, so that's the Venetian red. It's already a muted red and I absolutely adore this color. I think of all the reds I've ever used, this one gets used up the most and the quickest. Let me just show you the rich, deep, warm Venetian red on its own. And of course with watercolor, the more water you add, the lighter it goes. So don't be afraid to completely ignore the white and just work with extra water. There we go. Then the other one, the vermilion with the white. Everybody's vermilion, every brand's vermilion has a different hue to it. I like the Winsor Newton's vermilion. It's sort of on the cool side, and I really like that. Let's get some pure vermilion on the table for you. There we go. Even then, let's just do a thinned down version. Okay. You get all those pinky, peachy colors. And then the scarlet. Scarlet will give you that real cool blossom pink. Some whites are not always as white as you might believe. They change the color of your paint, and I tend to want to avoid that. Don't want unnecessary color changes. So you'll see from mixing the white into that scarlet, into just adding water, has given us a different tone to that scarlet. So white isn't your option in watercolor, but with acrylic you can use both zinc white or titanium white. Zinc white is also known as a mixing white. Let me just give you a little bit of a close-up there. So that's how I got to the colors I used for this one. The brown was just a mix of both of those until it came to that muted look over there. So as you can guess, I'm developing a new Protea design, and the designs are nearly finished and ready to be ordered, and I'll keep you up to date with that. Okay, so with a basic palette like the blues and greens, reds and yellows, you can almost make any other color. You don't need to have a whole entourage of paints. You can literally mix up as you go and experiment. So I just took a little drop of blue with the Venetian red, and it gives us a lilac-y violet color. And like I say, the secret is always to mix and play around before you go to your work surface. Keep one thing a constant, like in this case the ultramarine is the constant, and I'm using it in the 3 different reds. There we go. So you have, even with vermilion, the ultramarine and vermilion also gives a muted purple, and the best purples you get from ultramarine and like a permanent rose or a magenta will give you the best option for that. All right. So let's do a few yellow things. I know many people don't like yellow. I want to just give you an idea. So there's pure yellow. Okay. And into that yellow, I'll firstly mix, the ultramarine. And yellow and blue, of course, we get taught makes green. But depending on your blue and depending on your yellow, you'll get different results. So this is green, but that is supposed to be green, but it's because of the pigments in that ultramarine and the pigments inside that yellow that color has changed. So the only way we could figure that out was to actually get the colors together and work with them. So let's go and put some of the Venetian red with the yellow. Nice burnt orange. Because of that Venetian red's toned red, that gives you a very beautiful neutral orange. Almost reminds me about this one. So guess what I'm using for my design. Okay, so that was, see, didn't use a clean water. Try that again. Yellow with the Venetian red, and then that's what you got. Beautiful. Something someone showed me once that has been priceless in my green discovery is yellow with a little bit of black. Also makes for a yummy neutral green. Isn't that amazing? So obvious. If you have more black, you're going to have a darker green, and if you have more yellow, you'll have a lighter green. So let's just bump that up a little bit, and maybe next time you can use black and yellow as a green instead of green. Look at that. Rich, rich, rich greens. Let me show you closer. Excellent. Okay, on a new page, and you can just watch as I go through that. Thank you for watching. I know this last part was kind of quiet, but it's always nice to just relax and see what you can bring forth on the paper. And I do that the best I can when I'm quiet. See you next time. Bye.